All right, my friends, welcome to the Start Spreading the News Yankee podcast. You can find all of our content on startspreadingthenews.blog. This is the Start Spreading the News Yankees podcast. This is Monday night, July the 6th, 2026, after a wonderful July 4th weekend. A reminder that this program is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing. Artemisia publishes a wide selection of great books across a variety of genres, including some of the best books ever written in the history of literature and writing, including the least among them, From Compton to the Bronx, 365.2, and the greatest novel ever written, Scattering the Ashes. If you haven't read any of them, they are written all by a phenomenal author named me. And also, of course, which I need a new graphic for, the brand new, actually came out in like March, Greatest New York Yankees by Uniform Number. One person who helped me with numerous books on that list is my good friend and one of the writers on Start Spreading the News, the fantastic, the wonderful, the knowledgeable Tim Kabel. Tim, how are you?
Fine. How are you, Paul?
Oh, my goodness. I am so good. Not only that you're here, but after what I think we've spent the last 17 hours trying to figure out how to make our sounds work between us, and we finally got it fixed. So it's good to hear you. So Tim, you know, I think in the history of civilization, there are people that go down for doing great things, and other people then get credit, and the person who actually invented something gets forgotten along the way, which is always a shame. But I think it was you who coined the word boon swoon a number of years ago, which is now all over everywhere. But I think you coined it.
I did, and as you noted, I get zero credit. I'm gonna coin this one now. Boon voyage.
All right. So how much longer do you give Boone? How much longer can the Yankees stick with him as the manager?
Well, I've said for a few years that they should get rid of him. I think logically, if they're going to do things in a smart way, which I doubt they will, but if they were to do so, we have 4 games against the Rays, and the Rays are in first place, and the Rays have been playing much better than the Yankees of late. If the Yankees lose 3 out of 4 or get swept, then I think the All-Star break would be the time to cut ties with Boone and bring somebody else in.
Now, I agree with you, and I think we've both been beating the Boone bandwagon of it's time to move on from him for years. Why on earth would the Yankees, after seeing this same story year after year, terrible baseball, periods of time when they can't win, where they play like the worst team in the major leagues year after year for a month or so, or weeks on end, why can't the Yankees, Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner, both of them, either of them, find the intestinal fortitude within themselves to move on from a manager who's obviously ineffective?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons. One, they'd have to admit that they made a mistake. And they don't want to do that. And two, they grasp at excuses. This year's excuse is, well, Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and Max Fried are hurt. Well, they haven't been hurt in the past, and this thing happens every year. So, I don't think, yes, it's not good to have the best player in the game out, but that's not necessarily why they're losing game after game. I mean, it's a lot of these things are mistakes that Boone is making. Why keep bringing Camilo Doval in? Why even have him there, first of all? But when the announcers on Saturday's game made a very good point, Doval came in and was beaten around in the 8th inning. And then in the 9th inning, Boone brought in Brent Hedrick. And I think he's required by law to bring him in every day. But he did bring him in on Saturday. And I think it was Michael Kay said, why bring him in when he's one of your key effective relief pitchers and you might need him on Sunday? Why bring him in a mop-up role? Why not just let Doval finish it out? I mean, he's already awful. I mean, how much worse could he be? And if he gave up a couple runs, then you could bring in a position player. But no, he brought in Brent Hedrick. And then for some unknown reason, he brought Doval back on Sunday.
And to disastrous results both games.
Right. And
go on.
And then when he says Friday, Susan Waldman came on in her sparkling 4th of July ensemble and said, hey, Aaron Boone said that Jose Cabrera is going to be the shortstop moving forward. He's the shortstop. Occasionally, Volpe will play, but it's going to be Caballero. And Caballero is not going to be jerked around to other positions. Well, on Saturday, Caballero was benched and Volpe played. Okay, and Boone's explanation for that was he's played a ton lately, meaning Caballero, but they were off on Thursday. So, and he's not 42 years old. He's 27 or 28. And then on Sunday, Caballero was in left field, I believe, and at the beginning, and or maybe center field. Left field. And then, third base. He was, sorry, I feel like Abbott and Costello. He was on third base. And, and Volpe was at shortstop and, of course, made an error. So
if you're running the Yankees and your manager, and this is not the first time this has happened. Remember last year, he's saying something about, Aaron Judge is fine. He can throw. And Aaron Judge is saying, like, no, I can't throw. I mean, there have been a million instances where Boone has said one thing and the players have contradicted him, or he has said something like, this guy's not going to play, and the next day he's playing, or he's going to play and then he doesn't play. I mean, we've seen, if you're the people running the Yankees and the person who is the mouthpiece of your organization, who's supposedly one of his supposed talents is communication, and he continually makes statements that are untrue or falsifiable, or they don't last from one day to the next, or that demonstrate he has no communication. If you are the Yankees, why would you want this person representing your franchise?
I wouldn't. But I don't know why they do, but I wouldn't. I think it's well past time for him to go, as you have stated repeatedly. And I think, at this point, the way they're fading, and this is just the beginning of the swoon. This isn't, I know Susan Waldman and Dave Sims were saying the other day, well, once Trent Grisham and Ryan McMahon get back, watch out. Well, maybe Grisham, but McMahon, I wouldn't bank on him. So if he's the savior, then we're in a lot of trouble. So I just think, at this point, it's time for Boone to go.
We're seeing reports, Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge saying the Yankees have lost their focus. Again, supposedly one of Aaron Boone's great strengths was his relationship with the players. The players are going to play for him because they really like him. And yet they're not. And this isn't, again, the first time we've seen this over Boone's tenure. Again, do Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner not notice these things? Do they not care? As a fan, what are you supposed to take from that? Like, the manager's not even motivating his team, and yet he's still the manager.
Right. And not only is he not motivating the team, I think there's a bizarre focus that Boone has on himself. In other words, he's taking batting practice the other day. Why? And then a year or so ago, during spring training, it was this whole big focus on him trying to hit a home run in batting practice on his 50th birthday. Who cares? That's not what he's there for. But he seems to turn everything into something about himself. Like when he talks about a young player, he then talks about himself when he was a young player or himself dealing with being a star. He was not a star. He was okay. He had one home run that he has milked more than a team of Amish farmers. I mean, it's just constant. But he's not he wasn't a great player, but he seems to think that he was, and he thinks he's a great manager because he gets very defensive and arrogant when he discusses. If anybody dares question one of his moves, he either gets snotty or just, says something incoherent and dismissive.
It's amazing. Now, I just put this up on the site. I put a whole bunch of tweets that are out there. And this is from some guy named Star on Twitter or X. And he writes, per @JohnBoy, Anthony Volpe is the only player in MLB history to have more than 1,800 plate appearances and under a 285 on base percentage. The only player. So why on earth would the Yankees keep rolling him out there? You said that Susan Waldman was interviewing Boone on Friday and said, we're not going to play Volpe. Obviously, he's not playable. Now we're seeing that he's the worst player in the history of baseball after 1,800 plate appearances. The only one of them not to have a 285 on base percentage. His OPS plus is now at 89 for the season. He's never cracked 90 in any of his 4 seasons. What's the fascination? Why? I mean, nobody likes to admit a mistake. I get it. But when you make a mistake and you just compound that mistake year in and year out and you just continue to do it, isn't that the definition of insanity?
It is. But what happens with Volpe, I think, is Volpe's not very good. We all know that. But Volpe can have a flash or two of being reasonably good for a couple of days. And when that happens, everybody's like, oh, look, he's turned the corner. This is it. And then he plays for 2 weeks. He doesn't get a hit for 27 straight at bats. And then all of a sudden, when you're ready to pull the plug, he gets 4 hits in a row. It's kind of like, but not as good, when Sugar Ray Leonard used to box and he would steal rounds.
Marvin Hagler, that was, I remember that fight.
He would come with a flourish at the beginning, at the end, but do nothing in the middle. And he would steal the round because that's what the judges would see. And they would say, wow, you see the way he ended that? And that's kind of what Volpe does, but not to that level. I think, and Volpe is useless as a bench player because he can only play one position. That's it. He's not a Swiss Army knife. He's a stick. He can't play all these different positions like Caballero can. And Caballero can play multiple positions, but his best position is shortstop. I mean, I think he would be a fine second baseman if need be, but right now you have Jazz there. So I don't know. I just think that Volpe, because he can only play the one position, and he's become a terrible base runner.
I noted the other day how his stolen base success rate has gone down every season, including this one.
When he destroyed that inning by getting thrown out, with one out in the ninth inning, I think it was, and then Spencer Jones hit a pop out or a fly out. Yeah. And which you can't, I mean, people pop out and fly out, but getting thrown out for no reason was, if you're going to steal that base, you better steal it.
Well, that, again, his supposed greatest strength was stealing bases. When he came up, when he was coming through the minor leagues and he was the new Yankee, the whole thing was this guy. You want to talk elite. Ricky Henderson wishes he was as good as Anthony Volpe is going to be at stealing bases. You can't get him. I mean, if he's on first, you might as well just put him on second. The other thing and his success rate goes down every year. Now, at some point, if your goal is to put a winning team on the field and you have a shortstop who doesn't field well, and I like how people say, well, he won the Gold Glove 72 years ago. Well, so did Willie Mays. Like, okay, he won a Gold Glove. That was great. I'm very happy for him. He hasn't been good since.
No.
So if your goal is to win, why do you keep playing a guy who can't hit, who doesn't field well, and when he gets on base, and he doesn't get on base often enough, he gets thrown out most often trying to steal bases. Every year he gets thrown out at a higher percentage.
And it's interesting when you look at, because I like to look at these things, how Volpe is treated in comparison to the other young Yankee players. And it's just, it's not even night and day. It's day and 16 nights ago. I mean, it's horrible because let's just look at stolen bases. Dominguez stole a base the other day, and the announcer said he's 5 for 5 in stolen bases. They don't let him steal as often. And every time he steals, he's successful. He had 23 steals last year, I believe. That's the guy you should be letting steal bases, not Volpe. And the other thing is, they brought up Spencer Jones once. They sent him down. He didn't do that well. They brought him up the second time. He did significantly better the second time than he did the first time, but he gets yanked in and out of the lineup constantly. Dominguez gets yanked in and out of the lineup. All of them, it's just, and Rice used to get that treatment, but then they got into a situation where they didn't have a choice, but they had to play Rice because Stanton was out and they needed to play him. And he sort of seized the day. And now, but still every now and then they'll yank Rice out. I just think that the way Volpe has gotten this deferential treatment is ridiculous.
Now, we have been accused, both you and I, of hating, and other writers on Start Spreading the News, of hating on Anthony Volpe. And I keep trying to explain, we're not hating on him. we are frustrated because the Yankees are gaslighting or doing whatever. I guess it's gaslighting, saying like, no, you don't understand. This is an elite. Didn't Aaron Boone call him elite last year? This is like a top shortstop. And we keep seeing like, no, he's not. And there's better options. And there were a million shortstops a couple of years ago that were available that would have been great. One of them, Seager, helps lead the Rangers to a championship. And yet we're constantly seeing this player. I think you, me, every Yankee fan would love Anthony Volpe to become the next Derek Jeter and to turn that all around tonight and be great the rest of the way. And we could say, you know, boy, when we were down on him, we were wrong, but we haven't been wrong. And when you point out the weaknesses, people say, well, why do you hate him? We don't hate him, but we're frustrated.
We were accused of all sorts of things. Yeah, I think we don't. It's just an accurate assessment that he's just not that good, you know? And again, you know, I've seen it before with people. They say, oh, you know, this guy, he's really good. And you just look at the numbers and he's not. They used to do that with Aaron Hicks too. And, you know, I mean, but I mean, I don't know. Just look at what the Yankees are doing with third base this year. They're paying, I believe,
I think it's 15 million or so.
Well, they're paying 32 million because they're paying DJ LeMahieu.
Oh, geez.
They're paying, and he's actually probably better than Ryan McMahon. I mean, McMahon can field reasonably well. He's not Greg Nettles, but he's good. He's, you know, he's fine. But then they keep talking about how he's really going to turn it around. He's hitting, you know, he's hitting 210.
Yeah, 209 right now.
And Michael Kay even said the other day as well, you know, for a while there he was hitting 142, and now he's hitting, you know, 209, and that means he hit 265 for a little while. If he could hit 265, they'd take that. Yeah, but the thing is, he's not going to hit 265. 265 is the top, and it averages out to 209. He's not going to stay there. He's going to go back down.
See, when an announcer says if McMahon could just hit 265, well, here's his entire career: 158, 232, 250, 215, 254, 246, 240, 242, 214, 217, 208. That 208 and 217 are combined in 2025 with the Yankees in Colorado, and then this year 209. He's never hit 265, and he's 31 years old. It's not like, oh, if he could only do it, maybe you say that for a 25-year-old kid, like he feels so well that maybe when he hits his prime, this guy's beyond his prime. He's never done it.
No.
And he played in Colorado.
I think here's what I think should happen. I think that, and it won't, but I'm just going to say what I think should happen. I think at the All-Star break, they should fire Boone. I wouldn't fire Matt Blake, but
the Yankee pitchers, for all their problems, have held their own.
Right. I wouldn't get rid of Matt Blake and whoever the bullpen guy is. I wouldn't get rid of him, but I'd make some other changes. But I would get rid of Boone, and then I would look at the roster and say, look, whether or not they need to do some things here. Judge is eventually going to come back, but who knows when. I mean, they say late August, maybe not, but I don't know that it's going to make a difference then. So what I would do is I would approach the trading deadline differently. I wouldn't gut the roster, but there's a few people I think that they should trade and get what they can get, and sort of keep the core of what they have and add to that. In other words, Jazz Chisholm should be traded.
All right, we're going to play a game. Ready?
Yeah.
We're now going to let me see what can I do here. I'm afraid to start playing around too much, but let's just try this. The crowd, they're going crazy because they know something about is exciting that's going to happen. And let's see. Looks like here we go.
Are we at the prom?
I don't know. It was called Acoustic Cinematic. I thought it might be a little bit exciting. But anyway, we are now, I was going to have like da 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 da. Looks like I don't have that available at this moment. So we are going to play a new game called Tim Kabel Keep or Stay. And so we'll go through. You're the GM. It's the All-Star break. We have fired Aaron Boone. And I'll just give you the names of the guys. Who should we keep and who should we get rid of at the trading deadline? And I think, are you in agreement that this is like, it's silly to go for it this year?
Yeah, I think it is silly because you don't know what's happening with Judge. You don't know what's happening with Fried. Cole is kind of up and down. I think the fact that they mysteriously gave him that extra day a couple of weeks ago, I think there was something going on. And, you know, whether he's arm weary or has dead arm, as they say.
And you can't expect a whole lot of a guy who just missed a year at 30, whatever amount of years old, 35 years old or whatever he is. Like, so I think we're in agreement. Now, the Yankees could win the World Series this year and make us feel foolish for trying to throw in the towel. But I think the idea at this point is let's try to build a team that's going to be able to be competitive going forward with a manager who might be able to lead them. Forgetting the manager, I know who your pick is. It would be Shelley Duncan. I have no way to say whether that's good or bad or indifferent, but he's been a good minor league manager, so why not? At least he knows how to manage, which is something Boone doesn't know how to do. But let's just talk about players. Here we go. Ben Rice.
Keep.
Paul Goldschmidt.
Well, he's only signed for the 1 year, but if you could get something for him, I'd trade him.
Agreed. Jazz Chisholm.
Gone.
Agreed. Anthony Volpe.
Double gone. Send him out, bring him back, and send him out again.
Ryan McMahon.
Gone.
Me too. All right. Cody Bellinger.
Keep.
Spencer Jones.
Definitely keep.
I know you're high on him. I'm less high. Jason Dominguez.
Definitely keep.
Aaron, so far, except for Spencer Jones, we're right in the line. Aaron Judge.
Well, you have to keep him, but
all right. Austin Wells.
Gone.
JC Escara.
Well, he's okay if he's your backup, he's fine.
Okay. Giancarlo Stanton.
Well, here's what I think. I think he should have played. This is it. I don't think he should play for the Yankees again. He needs to go because if he does come back this year, we're just going to do this same dance again next year. And that's his final year. Enough's enough. Stop, because you invest time and hope in the fact that he's going to do something and he doesn't do anything. That's it. Just move on from him and get somebody else.
I made the comment somewhere in the comments, I believe, maybe earlier today on Start Spreading the News. You know, people are saying, well, one reason the Yankees are losing this year is because Stanton's hurt. My reply to that is, if you're building a team, and again, I'm a big Giancarlo Stanton fan, but if you're building a team around Giancarlo Stanton being healthy, that's a foolish design at the start.
Right.
So you can't say, well, he's hurt. We're so surprised. I mean, that came out of nowhere. Oh, no. You had to expect that he'd be gone for months on end because he's always gone for months on end.
It's like the summer fair in your town. It happens every year.
I love your analogies. Let's just go through the pitchers.
You forgot Trent Grisham.
Oh, my goodness. Well, purposefully, no. But all right, Trent Grisham.
Gone.
Anybody else? I mean, I was Ahmad Rosario. These guys aren't.
No, I'd keep him. I mean, you know, I think, and I might keep McMahon for the rest of this season simply because unless you have somebody else you're going to put in at third base. And I don't think you could get much for him. What I would do at this point, I would trade Jazz and here's what I would do. I would trade Jazz, put Caballero at second base, and just for now, keep Volpe at shortstop until George Lombard Jr. is ready to come up. And then trade Volpe.
Now, my position, I am much lower on prospects than you are. So I was told that Volpe was the real deal. Before that, I was told it was Oswald Peraza. Before that, I was told
for the Angels.
It was Tyler Wade. Before that, I was told I can't even name them all, right? Like year after year, this guy. Why should I believe in George Lombard Jr.?
Well, because it's not just the Yankees people who rank him highly. He's ranked highly by almost everybody who reviews these minor leaguers. And also, he has demonstrated a pattern where every time he gets promoted, he struggles. But then, usually he struggles to the end of the season, but then when he comes back for the following season, he lights it up. He's done that at single A, double A, and now he's at triple A, and he was doing well until he jammed his thumb or something. He's on the IL right now, but he had been hitting much better over his last 20 games or so, and really had picked his game up. So, and he's already better than the Volpe. So, and he's considered to be an extremely, unlike Volpe, he's a very good fielder. So what I would say is, and again, some of them have panned out. Ben Rice came through the system. Not everyone's going to do it. For whatever reason, it was funny. Remember, they thought Austin Wells was going to be a tremendous hitter, but a lousy catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he catches like he's catching eggs that he doesn't want to break. And he's good at that, but he's a terrible hitter.
Awful. Year after year, too.
There was a very interesting picture online where they had a picture of Aunt Bee from the Andy Griffith Show holding a bat upside down and said, "This is Austin Wells' batting coach." So, I mean, he's not. And then the other night he wandered into a play and the ball hit him in the head. I mean, I don't know. I just think not every minor leaguer is going to make it. I think that if Dominguez plays, you're going to see, I don't know that he's going to be a superstar, but I think he's going to be a solid player. I think he's going to be along the lines of like a Brett Gardner type. I think that's what you're going to see with him. A solid guy. You're going to be, you won't have to worry about if he's in left field or wherever it is he's playing.
You think he's going to be able to field? Because he looks very awkward out there.
No, remember the play that got him on the IL was one of the best plays of the year when he dove and he hit the wall. And he's made some good plays in right field too. I think, but he works very hard at it from everything I've read and seen. Because if you'll remember, some of these guys come up. Wade Boggs came up as a terrible fielder.
That is true. Yeah,
he turned himself into by the time all was said and done. And don't forget, Dominguez is only 23.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's been in the system since he was 4 years old. But I think he's going to be a solid player. But what I was getting at is, you might not be able to get rid of everybody right now. But the guys you can get rid of who will bring you something back target a catcher. Target, and if you have a team that needs a left-handed bat, okay, in the playoff, a team that's a contending team, I don't know which one, maybe the Braves, for example, give them Grisham, and take, if they have a really good catching prospect who's ready for the majors, take him, and then let that guy become your catcher for the rest of this season. You know, because you need a catcher.
No doubt about it. Yankees need a lot. That's part of the problem.
They do need a lot, but catcher. And then I've read a lot of rumors that, you know, some things they do make a little bit of sense. They rebuilt their, you know, their scouting and their international development and minor league development staff because they had too many duds. And now what they've done is they have somebody, I can't remember his name, but he has a lot of connections in Japan and the Far East. And they say, and he just signed a pitcher from Taiwan that's supposedly a big deal. But they say that this year there's going to be a third baseman posted from Japan who's very good. Maybe they can target him.
It would be nice if the Yankees were big players in that, you know, Japanese market again, because there was a time when the great Japanese, and I had an article up earlier today that talked about how the Dodgers, what people do when they argue is they make points and then they go back away from those points as if they never made them. So a couple of years ago, I was arguing that Anthony Volpe doesn't walk enough. And then in the comments, we saw certain people then say, ha, 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 what a joke. You don't know what you're talking about type of thing. Like, and now everybody says 2 years later, Anthony Volpe doesn't walk enough. It was obvious from the start. A couple of years ago, there was commenters that said, well, when we would complain, writers on Start Spreading the News, myself or whomever would say the Yankees aren't winning, they should be winning. And the argument was, well, no team wins today. You can't build a dynasty today. Baseball's not designed for that anymore. And then I put an article today that said, well, the Dodgers have won 3 World Series this decade, and they're the best team virtually every single year. They're in first place every year from 2013 on. And then they make up other arguments. Well, it's obvious that if the Yankees were determined to be good and great, that they could be, but they keep making decisions that are contrary to that, including keeping a manager who can't even manage. I forget where I was going to go with the point that I was going to make here. I was going to build on something you had said there, and I lost my stream of consciousness as I was talking
about the Japanese players.
Oh, correct. And so people then say, well, the Japanese players won't go to the Yankees. They only go to the Dodgers. Well, that's because the Dodgers are really good. And if I'm a player coming from Japan, well, I'd like to go to the Dodgers because they're really good. But when players first started coming from Japan, a lot of them wanted to come to the Yankees. Why? Mm-hmm. Because the Yankees were really good. And if you think they're going to be great and build a great team around you, then you say, you know what, I'd like to go to the Yankees. That'd be cool to play in New York. Right. But if you see what dysfunction is there, you say, well, no, I don't want to go. Why would I want to be a Yankee? Like if you were a great Japanese player right now and you could choose any team and without your fandom of being a Yankee, why would you choose the Yankees?
You wouldn't. But again, they don't necessarily even go after some of them.
Correct.
I mean, I said, and not that I'm a genius,
but you're pretty smart.
If Munetaka Murakami signed with the White Sox for 2 years, he would have come to the Yankees if they made him an offer. And I know he's been hurt, but before he was hurt, he had like the most home runs ever by a rookie before, by the end of June. And he's ready to come back now, they said. And, he doesn't hit for a high average. He strikes out a lot, but he's got a ton of home runs and RBIs. And he's a left-handed hitter. And maybe he's not the greatest third baseman in the world, but I'd rather have him than McMahon. And right now he could be your DH.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know what? You can't get better if you don't go after players. And the Yankees just have decided this whole Boone era that they just let generational talent go past without even making an offer. Like, we're fine. We got this guy. We don't need that superstar. And it turns out that superstar probably would have helped.
And look at you mentioned him before, Oswald Peraza. He's doing pretty well for the Angels. He's doing better than Volpe.
Yeah, well, they picked one, and it looks like they picked the wrong guy of the two.
Yeah.
Oh, so did I miss anything here in our complaining session here?
About the
truth, but
we talked about the position players, but as far as which pitcher should go, I would keep the starter. I'm not going to say get rid of Cole or Rodon or Fried no. You need them. They're if you're going to be competitive next year, moving forward, getting rid of Boone, retooling things, you don't want to do that. But the bullpen, you need to, I think
that's a complete gut job. I don't think there's anybody out there, maybe Bednar, who you say, well, this guy is definitely part of the team next year. Hedrick's 109 years old, and he's had a...
No, he's not. He's actually kind of young, but...
Is he?
I think so. I'd say he's under 30.
Hedrick. All right, we're going to play. This is another game. I wish I had theme music. Here's the Brent Hedrick game show. Brent Hedrick is... All right, so he's 28. You're right on that. I thought he was around a lot longer. 2023 in 3 games. That doesn't count. 2024 for Minnesota. He only played in 1 game. So really his first major league chance came last year with the Yankees. 17 games, 3.13 ERA. This year, 44 games, 1.45 ERA. His ERA plus last year was 133. This year it's 291, which is crazy good. So, you know what? I thought he was like a Paul Blackburn, one of these guys that has been around forever. So, yeah, I would keep him. That makes sense.
I would keep Hedrick. There's not much else out there. Maybe a Blackburn or a Yarborough, one of them just to
eat innings. Mm-hmm.
Eat innings. I know they called up the great and talented Angel Shavihi yesterday, but he's never proven to be anything good on the major league level. I would not abandon the notion. See, who's the guy they brought up? They've brought him up a couple times. Is it Cruz?
They have. Yep. He throws like 102 or something.
And he does well, and then they immediately send him back. I would bring him up and let him pitch. And once, what's his name? Lagrange is back from his shoulder.
Yeah, but they say he's not going to throw for like 6 weeks. We might not see him till next year.
Right. But if he comes in, he's able to pitch a little in September just to get him some major league experience heading into next year. I wouldn't abandon the idea of using him in the bullpen. I think that's where he's probably going to be best suited. But they have some other young kids that seem like they could be potentially good bullpen people. They had another guy, I forget his name, Lelane, I think it is. I'm not sure what level he's at, but he struck out, 12 or 13 guys in a game, 3 or 4 games in a row. Maybe he's somebody you could turn into a bullpen pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, you need to retool the bullpen, and you don't need to get somebody who's no good on another team and think he's going to be good on your team. No, you don't need to do that. I think
they've done that a few times now.
Yeah. I mean, look at the 3 guys. I mean, Bednar is fine, but they brought in Jake Bird. And that reminds me, every time I hear Jake Bird, I think of who was it? Somebody Bird, the one Thurman Munson hit the home run into the bullpen off of.
Doug Bird.
Yeah.
Doug Bird of the Kansas City Royals. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is his
who eventually became a Yankee. Doug Bird pitched for the Yankees.
Yeah. Well, who didn't? But I think they need to retool the bullpen. I would and Weathers. I mean, everybody. Oh, Weathers is good. He's really good. He strikes out a lot. But if he gives up 12 home runs, what difference does it make? He pitches, as I've written, Weathers pitches just well enough to lose.
Always.
Whatever it is, if the other team scores, if the Yankees score 8 runs, he'll give up 9. He keeps you interested, but he's not that good. Maybe he'd be a good relief pitcher.
Maybe. Listen to these numbers. He pitched for San Diego. He was 4-7. That was 2021 in 30 games. The next year, I think he was injured. He comes back in 2023, pitches for the Padres and Miami. He goes 1-8. In 2024, he goes 5-6. In 2025, he goes 2-2, only 8 games. After a while, people say wins and losses doesn't matter, but if your career record now is 3-7, is 15 wins and 30 losses, there's something there. You're obviously not as talented as I was. Not high on that when the Yankees got him. I think you and I both wrote. I definitely wrote, like, this is who they're getting. We're all excited that they get a guy who doesn't ever win games.
And they're giving up 4 players for him.
It's just crazy.
And just like the trade they made for Shavihi, his name escapes me now. He's a left-handed hitter. T.J. Rumford was the guy they traded for Shavihi. And the Yankees didn't think he'd ever be, he was a left-handed hitting first baseman. They didn't need him because they couldn't figure out what to do with him with Rice there. And so what happens? He's with the Rockies, and he's doing really well.
88 games. He's hitting .301. He has 12 home runs.
Yeah, we could use that.
Yeah, you think? He'd be the best player in the Yankees right now.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, he's not. I would prefer Rice over him, but maybe you could have him as a DH, something.
Crazy stuff.
And funny,
go on.
The other day, we complained about how remember in the game when Boone did not pinch hit Goldschmidt for Cabrera. And I like Cabrera, but Cabrera was just coming back after that terrible injury, and he'd only had a handful of at-bats at the major league level, and Goldschmidt's a borderline Hall of Famer. So who would you rather have hitting? Obviously Goldschmidt. And so, of course, he came up with some weird explanation. Cabrera could get his bat on the ball.
Right. Something that made no sense.
But then on Saturday, it might have been Saturday, he pinch hit Goldschmidt for Trent Grisham. And Trent Grisham, I'm not a huge fan of his, but he had I think he'd hit a home run in the game, and I think it didn't make sense. But then he's like, oh yeah, you have to go with Goldschmidt in that situation. But why wouldn't you go with him over Cabrera?
I think sometimes he manages. I wrote this the other day for the story. What a story. Yeah. Whoa, when they write this tomorrow, I'm going to sound like a genius because I stuck with the underdog and against all logic, and it worked. It's the same as bringing in Nestor in that World Series game, and he does this constantly.
He does that, and the other thing he does, he manages against criticism. In other words, if somebody lambastes him, like a couple of years ago, heading into the playoffs, Judge was hitting leadoff of all things. And Alex Rodriguez came out and blasted him for doing that. Judge never hit leadoff again after that. And the same thing, remember, he got all that criticism for playing Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And then headed into the playoffs, all of a sudden people were criticizing it, and then he yanked Isaiah Kiner-Falefa out of the lineup. So he responds to people criticizing him. So maybe that was part of it. All the people who criticized him for not pinch hitting Goldschmidt, he's like, aha, I'm going to use Goldschmidt now.
Now I'll show you. I'll make the decision 2 days later. The whole thing is frustrating. Tim, this has been fun, even though we're complaining about the Yankees. I'm glad we sorted out the audio. That was crazy at the start. And thank you for joining me, my dear friends. Thank you for watching. This has been the Start Spreading the News Yankee podcast with the brilliant, affable, fantastic writer, Tim Kabel, joining me. Have yourselves a happy and wonderful evening.